Let's ditch the snack-sized, easily digestible truths and lean into a more layered, reflective wisdom. This video will only retain viewers who want depth and not the dopamine hit. There is no stillness in the world of form. All that is born is destined to dissolve. To deny this is to suffer. To accept it, however, is the beginning of peace. This is the first noble truth, Dukkha. Buddha definitely wasn't in the business of anesthesia. He wanted to come up with a cure. First, though, he diagnosed the disease. To call the first noble truth a statement of suffering is like saying a storm is just wet. Dukkha, as originally taught by the Buddha, is not a casual recognition that pain exists. That's obvious. What the Buddha saw was that suffering is not the exception, but the rule. Not the interruption of life's party, but the music that always plays in the background. It's the itch behind pleasure, the hangover hiding behind the champagne. The ancient word dukkha comes from a faulty chariot wheel. Da means bad and ka means wheel. It's the bump in the ride of life, a subtle misalignment, the feeling that the center doesn't quite hold. Everything's off kilter, even when things seem fine. A king may have 1,000 wives and still sleep with unrest in his chest. Child may cry for the toy he wanted until he has it, then cast it aside like a ghost. Dukkha is not just in the heartbreak and funerals, it's in the perfectly lit family photos, in the promotions, in the weddings. Because every joy is hostage to impermanence. This is far from pessimism. Pessimism says, everything is terrible. Buddhism says, everything changes, and pretending it won't is what makes it terrible. In neurology, there is a term, anticipatory grief, the suffering that begins not when loss arrives, but when its shadow first appears. A patient learns of a terminal illness. A spouse watches memory begin to fray. Dukkha begins not with death, but with the thought of death. It's that subtle background hum of dread. And it's not just reserved for tragedy. It's present when we glance in the mirror and see our youth starting to loosen its grip on our face. It's there when a parent watches their child grow independent, joyful, and slightly out of reach. Look at Rome in its final centuries. Dukkha doesn't always look like ruin. Instead, it mostly looks like overabundance, decadence, spiritual vacancy. The empire groaned under the weight of its own overfed appetite, but what it suffered from was not hunger, it was meaninglessness. The concept of hedonic adaptation in psychology describes how quickly we return to a baseline of dissatisfaction, no matter what pleasures are introduced. Win the lottery, fall in love, get the book deal. The high fades, and the mind begins its next negotiation with the world. Always more, always later, always elsewhere. Dukkha is a principle that the conditions we live in, by their very nature, cannot produce lasting peace as long as we misperceive their nature. The Buddha doesn't say suffering is a punishment, or that it comes to the unworthy. He says, this is what is. Not you suffer, but there is suffering. It's as objective as rain. You don't get mad at the rain for being wet. You just stop expecting it to keep you dry. Once you admit that something's wrong, the next question is obvious. What causes it? Here's where the Buddha gets scientific. Before Newton saw apples fall, before Hippocrates separated medicine from superstition, the Buddha saw causality. Suffering isn't a cosmic punishment or original sin. It has a cause. And that cause, he said, is tanha, a word that means thirst. But this isn't the thirst of a jogger reaching for a water bottle. It's existential. It's the thirst for things to be other than they are. It's wanting permanence in a world that only does change. Imagine someone in a burning house rearranging the furniture. That's you. That's us. Constantly trying to adjust life's cushions for maximum comfort, while the whole damn structure is slowly collapsing into ash. Tanha is not desire in the general sense. It's not wanting to read a good book or kiss someone with enthusiasm. It's clinging. It's trying to grab the wind. It's turning to people, possessions, titles, and even ideas and saying, stay just like this, forever. There's a grim irony to it. The things we love most, our youth, our relationships, our identities, are also the things we fear losing. And so we tighten our grip. But the tighter the grip, the more it hurts when, inevitably, everything slips through our fingers. If the first noble truth is the diagnosis, that there is a persistent underlying unease in the human experience, then the second noble truth is the autopsy. What is causing the discomfort in the first place? According to the early Pali texts, we thirst for three main things: sensual pleasure, becoming, and non-becoming. Let's take them one by one. This one's familiar. The body craves soft fabrics, sweet fruits, touch, laughter, music, sex, sugar, wine, rain on bare skin. None of these are sinful or wrong. But when the mind turns them into conditions for happiness, the trap closes. The problem is never pleasure, it's dependence. The moment the mind says, I need this to feel whole, it builds a cage around itself. Imagine a child on a carousel. At first, it's magic, but after the fifth spin, something changes. The thrill dulls. The child wants more speed, more lights, another horse. This is how Kamatana works. It promises the infinite, then leaves you with a withdrawal. This craving goes further than just wanting to enjoy life. It is a thirst to be someone in life, to become, to solidify identity. It begins in childhood. What do you want to be when you grow up? And it rarely stops. Even at 60, we're still trying to become someone more. The perfect version of ourselves always dances just ahead. Smarter, thinner, more generous, more mindful. It is the addiction to identity, the craving for permanence in an impermanent world. The belief that if we just get one more thing right, we will finally arrive. But becoming is a mirage, because the self is not static. We are not nouns, we are verbs. And the moment we try to pin ourselves down, life changes the rules. This one is subtler and almost paradoxical. The craving to not exist. It shows up in the wish to disappear from consciousness. In modern terms, this is the desire to numb. Alcohol, scrolling, overwork, apathy, even suicide. It's the wish to end discomfort by ending the self that feels it. Even the spiritual path can be infected by this. Some seekers crave nirvana into a sense of a way out, an escape hatch. But awakening is not escape. It's waking up to reality, not from it. Here comes the part that separates Buddhism from cosmic pessimism. The third truth is that suffering can end. This is the promise that elevates the Buddha's teaching from diagnosis to healing. Nirodha means cessation, of suffering, of clinging, of thirst. It doesn't mean the end of feelings. It means the end of being burned by them. Imagine watching your thoughts rise and fall like clouds, and never once mistaking them for yourself. Imagine loving without owning, grieving without breaking, dying without fear. Nirodha isn't found in some enchanted cave. It's the natural result of understanding reality so clearly that you stop fighting it. This cessation has a name. Nibbana in Pali or nirvana in Sanskrit. It means literally blowing out, as one snuffs a candle. But it's not you who gets blown out. It's the flame of delusion, of craving, of I am. Let's pause here, because nirvana has been so misunderstood. It's not the Buddhist version of heaven at all. It is, in the Buddha's own words, the unborn, the unaging, the deathless. To understand cessation, you have to understand what gets ceased. In Pali texts, the formula is precise. With the fading away and cessation of craving comes the cessation of suffering. Remove the poison and the body begins to heal. Remove thirst and the mind begins to rest. The Buddha once told a parable. Man is struck by an arrow, but before he allows anyone to remove it, he insists on knowing 5 things. Who shot it? What caste was he? What was the wood of the bow? What type of feathers on the shaft? This is what we do with suffering. Instead of addressing its root, we investigate its trauma, and while these questions spiral, the poison spreads. When the fire runs out of fuel, it doesn't need to be extinguished. The cessation of dukkha is not the cessation of feeling. The arahant, the liberated one, still feels pain, still sees the beauty and terror of the world, but the grasping is gone. Experience is no longer sticky. Imagine grief with no resistance, joy with no clinging, fear with no panic. You don't need to retreat to a Himalayan cave to taste Nirodha. You've already known moments of it. The split second after a long sigh, when your mind is completely still. The moment of awe in front of a mountain, when the self falls silent. The peace of accepting that something is over. These are glimpses. The third noble truth says that peace is not a fluke. It can be cultivated. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke wrote, "Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final." This is Nirodha in verse. You don't have to reject the world. You just don't have to grab it anymore. Beauty and terror, they come and go. In the Tao Te Ching, the sage is compared to an uncarved block. Simple, whole, free of unnecessary elaboration. That is the mind of Nirodha. The fourth noble truth is the Noble Eightfold Path. It is the prescription, the treatment plan. We will dive into it in the next video. Thank you for listening.